From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Nobody does it better.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good. This is part of the Warchant.com family, the ultimate Seminole sports source. And Corey, you know, let me get my salesman hat on here. I was talking to one of my buddies on the phone about this the other day. Just like, I don't want to say that I'm a cheap guy. I just don't like paying full price for a lot of stuff. Like, I dress pretty well, but I still shop from the sale rack mainly. My mom taught me how to do it. It's one of those things where, like, I don't mind splurging on some stuff, but if I discover that, like, I bought a leather duffel bag and for like $200, but then the same bag was elsewhere for like $120. I'm just like, man, what an idiot. $80, man. Just blew $80, you idiot. And with that said, I can't promise you this is the best deal we'll ever do with Warchant.com. But this is pretty much the closest thing. Even Gator Kirk, everyone's favorite, he even said on either the recruiting chat or the live version we did of this show that, yeah, use this promo Norvell 2020 because it's an even better deal than what I paid for. This comes from Gator Kirk. He was, no bones about it. No ill will, no hard feelings. So use the promo code Norvell 2020 if you've ever thought about signing up for Warchant.com and you've been like, I don't know. This is the best time to do it. Really, because the season and this amount of money that you spend on it is not going to be one of those things where you'll look back and be like, I can't believe I spent this much money on it. Because you get 25% off an annual membership. You get a $25 e-gift card to Garnet and Gold. So you could live in Tacoma or Tallahassee and use this, or Tanzania and use it. And Gene Williams is going to give you 3 free months on top of that. So if you've ever listened to the show and you'll be like, yeah, maybe one of these days I'll get around to it, you should probably get around to it in the next 9 days. It ends on the 15th, so my math is terrible. But that's my sales pitch, Corey. How are you?
That was perfect, buddy. That was perfect. I'm great. That was well done. And that was off the dome, right? That wasn't written out for you to say.
No.
That's incredible. That's incredible. But he's right, folks. He's not lying.
I don't know, man. I think I'm high on endomorphins or whatever. What a day Thursday was. We're going to have Ira Schoffel join us here in a little bit. Man, I can't remember working like this. Probably since, I was like 16 years old, pulling a double shift at the Pelican Car Wash, just grinding out there, drying cars, armor-alling, detailing, cleaning the gas pumps, mopping we grinded on Thursday. You set the bar. We were cranking out some content. It was fun. It was fun Thursday, wasn't it? To work. Like real work again.
Yeah, it was weird. It was. I was wondering if that muscle was still there. But yeah, wrote a couple stories within a couple hours. I did during the press conference. I was basically going trying to go verbatim and quoting each player or each coach, and then the 2 players or the 1 player. I didn't listen to Corbin because I was writing on Marvin. But yeah, man, it was. It felt good to be busy again.
That's right.
Right. I mean, let's not overdo it.
Yeah.
We don't want this every day.
Right.
But it felt good to be busy just after whatever it's been, 5 months. It felt good to get out there and flex a little bit.
Show them how we do it. Yeah, so Ira will join us here. We'll kind of share our thoughts on talking season, if you will. Thursday's press conferences with Mike Norvell, Kenny Dillingham, Adam Fuller, John Papuchis, Marvin Wilson, and Jay Sean Corbin. All spoke to us. Really good stuff, and we'll dive into our thoughts on all that. But before that, the day began real early, or at least relatively early for your guy here. 9 o'clock in the morning, the ACC dropped the official schedule. Somebody said I have a speech impediment in a very nasty review on iTunes, Corey, so I'm a little self-conscious today.
Well, thankfully you showed them by saying schedule.
That's right. That is right. They dropped it. I think I don't have the ACC matrix pulled in front of me, but I will pull it up here shortly. But, man, just initially looking at the schedule that dropped on Thursday, say what you will. I guess, some folks are griping about Miami, Notre Dame within a 3-week span. Miami to Pitt, that's a pretty daunting slate, I guess. But I just looked at the beginning of it. You have all camp, man. You have all camp to get prepared for 3-win Georgia Tech. And then you host Samford. And then you go play, Miami. What a great sort of runway, I think, to get this team ramped up, build up, start the climb. I mean, you're looking at probably starting 2-0 for the first time since 2016. I like the schedule. I think all things considered, I'm not going to give it an A+. I'm not going to give it a grade. I like it, though. I like it. I don't think you look at this and think we got screwed, we got hosed, there's a conspiracy. I like it a lot.
I agree. People are there's always going to be some gripes about everything, especially I feel like with the Florida State fan base when it comes to schedules. But yeah, I liked it. When you go from thinking, okay, there's a chance you could open with Notre Dame or Clemson, and then you're opening up with what should be the easiest ACC game on your schedule. Absolutely. Now we could be wrong. Georgia Tech might end up with 9 wins this season. They might have done a complete 180, but they were awful last year. And so you open with the easiest ACC game on your schedule, and then you have the easiest game on your schedule in game 2. Yeah, 2-0, man. Like that is. I honestly saw that Georgia Tech because I didn't see the schedule because I was running a few errands for Mom in the morning, so I didn't see the schedule until maybe 10:15 or so.
Okay. That's fine. That's acceptable.
The first thing I saw was Georgia Tech and Samford, and I'm like, I didn't even look at the rest of the schedule. I saw that the schedule.
Yeah.
I saw the third game was Miami, and then I literally don't know the rest of the order. Because there's 2 things. Number one, all we're worried about is a good month, a good September, a good start. And they could not have made it a better start for Norvell than this. Just couldn't have. It couldn't be laid up on a tee better to get 2-0 and to get some confidence in these players, get some confidence in your new staff than going 2-0. But the other reason I didn't look way too late on is because, who knows? Who knows how this thing's going to go? So I'm more concerned about September, but I think that's about as fair. It's more than fair.
Yeah.
What the ACC gave Norvell for his first month.
Right. And then I guess to your point about not looking too far down the road, when I saw Clemson all the way down there, third to last game, November 21st, I'm like, all right, that's not bad. That's not bad. Push that one way back. So that's what stood out to me. I guess Miami, Notre Dame.
So is Clemson the last game?
No, third to last. They got Virginia at home after that, and then road finale, Wade Wallace Stadium in Duke and Durham.
Wallace Wade. Well, so they've closed with Duke. All right. Yeah, you could tell how I told you that shows how much I looked at the schedule. I literally looked at the first month and saw that Clemson and Notre Dame weren't in it, and I'm like, wow, Georgia Tech and Samford, that's a good start. Yeah. And then I'm taking it one game at a time, folks. I'm not looking to November. Don't even care. Don't even know who's on the schedule. Don't know what order they're in. I know first up's Georgia Tech, and that's all I'm focused on.
What are your thoughts on the fact that 4 of Florida State's opponents
don't care
have
buys
before they play Florida State?
Come on, man. We're all going to find reasons to gripe about this or that. Yeah, that's not advantageous, but it's all. I mean, come on. It's the ACC. This isn't the NFC South, man. This isn't that hard to schedule. Give them 4 weeks to prepare. Georgia Tech has 5 weeks off.
And two of them are Clemson and Notre Dame, which I think are games. Clemson obviously is going to be quite daunting. Notre Dame not as much, but still kind of an uphill battle.
Yeah, I mean, I think look, those are 2 games you probably thought you don't have a great shot in anyway. So 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 days, 1 day. Yeah, I don't know that it would matter with Clemson. They could have 2 days to prepare. Maybe the same with Notre Dame, although, again, we don't think Notre Dame's quite that level. But, again, I think, when you think about that, it could have been starting with Miami or starting with Clemson or starting with Notre Dame, and instead you're starting with Georgia Tech. Right. And then you have Samford right after that, man. Come on. And you don't have Boise and you don't have Florida. Yeah. Let's quit griping about the schedule. It's a fair schedule. It's a great start to a schedule because when was the last time they were 2-0? Was it 15?
16, I think. Who did they play after Ole Miss? They beat up
100?
On somebody after Ole Miss, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right, because that's when Derwin got hurt in that meaningless
Charleston
game they
Southern
played.
Then, Charleston Southern, yeah.
So that was. It's been 4 years since they were 2-0, and it would just be so big for the program to feel good about itself for at least a couple of weeks.
And hey,
but then go ahead and beat Georgia Tech. Make sure you do that first.
Right. I do like Jeff Collins. I like. I think Brent Key is his offensive line coach, who he plucked away from Alabama. So I'm sure they're going to build something pretty formidable at some point in Atlanta, but I don't think it'll be on September 12th. So I do like the way it's laid out. And yeah, man. I mean, Miami's a total win. That's a winnable game. That's a manageable contest. I mean, you win that game, you're 3-0 off week. And everyone's talking about Mike Norvell in Tallahassee got Florida State back on track, going to Notre Dame, face Brian Kelly. What do you think? So dream a little dream. And it's not even, it's a little dream. It's not a big dream. I mean, you could be 3-0 going to a bye week and then playing possibly a top 8, top 10 Notre Dame team, which I should have looked at the preseason rankings, but I didn't look at them because I know Florida State's not on them. But that is that. So let's do it, Corey. You ready? Let's go week by week. Let's pick it out. I did this by myself in solitude, and I think I finished at 7-4. So let's see what you say.
All right, let's go. Let's do it.
Georgia Tech. Win. Okay. Samford.
Win.
All right. Miami.
Loss.
Okay. Notre Dame.
Loss.
North Carolina.
Win.
And
that Miami game is I'm not. Both of those games are winnable. And you know what? You're allowed to beat a team you're not supposed to beat or you're not favored to beat. So Florida State could very well be 3-1 after 4 games.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I got them beating North Carolina.
Okay, we are at 3-2 then. Louisville at Louisville.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. 4-2.
Oh, let's go. Pitt.
5-2.
6-2. NC State, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Clemson.
7-2.
Okay. Virginia.
No, that's not going to happen. 6-3. Virginia 7-3.
Duke.
8-3.
Yeah.
So I think you're looking at that schedule. If they play well, if they're well coached, I think you're looking at a window between 7 and 9 wins pretty realistically, right? Like a couple of games could swing either way. 7, I think, is the bottom. Maybe you could go 6-5 if you get really unlucky, but I feel like 7 to 9 is that window where there's I think there's like an 85% chance, 80 to 85% chance likelihood they finish between 7 and 9 wins. Yeah. It may be, I can't say. You're not going to go 10-1. So there's a 15% chance, 20% chance you lose 4 games or you lose 5 games or more.
I mean, you look at Miami, Notre Dame, North Carolina, Louisville, Pitt. That's a 5-game stretch. You have a week off between Miami and Notre Dame. And you also have a week off between Louisville and Pitt. I mean, you go 3-2 in there, and that's impressive. Like, to me, that'd be really good. That'd be strong to go 3-2 in that stretch.
So when are their bye weeks? Between what games?
Between Miami and Notre Dame, and then between road contests at Louisville and then a home game against Pitt.
Okay. I think. I mean, Miami, Notre Dame. Those are going to be 2 of the 3 best defensive lines they face. I guess Pitt in there too. Miami and Notre Dame. So those are both. The Miami game will be physical. So a week off before you go to Notre Dame. I don't know if that's going to matter much.
I take it back. They actually have 3 bye. They have 3 off weeks. I think because the 28th. Well, no. Yeah, never mind. I'm sorry. I thought.
Come on, Aslan.
Sorry. I thought between the 28th and the 5th. I can't do math. I'm terrible.
No.
So, yeah, those are the bye weeks between those games. Yeah, just that Miami through Pitt gauntlet, if you want to call it. Miami, Notre Dame, North Carolina, Louisville, Pitt. Sorry, moved around.
Man, nope. I'm not letting us do this. Okay. Louisville and Pitt aren't on anybody's gauntlet ever.
Oh, I'm not. I
in anything. It's Miami. Miami was 6-7 last year. I know that kid's a good quarterback, but they were 6-7. Lost to Duke. Lost to FIU. Notre Dame's a gauntlet. That 1 week. There's no gauntlet about this schedule, and you're going to schedule, and you're going to have more talent than everybody on the roster, save for 2 or 3 teams at the most. Louisville, Pitt, who cares? That's not a gauntlet. Louisville lost 5 games last year, including one to Willie Taggart.
That's right.
So
Georgia Tech beat Miami in Miami.
Yeah. Yep.
In overtime.
Before Florida State lost to them. Yeah. That was they had 2 ACC wins, and one of them was against Miami. Yeah. I remember. And they lost to Georgia Southern, I think, right? or Georgia State.
Citadel.
They lost to
Citadel.
The Citadel. Yeah, I gave them too much credit. Yeah, they lost to the Citadel. Georgia Tech did, and then beat Miami. Yeah. So yeah, Miami's not a part of a gauntlet either. But yeah, Louisville certainly isn't. Or Pitt. Pitt can't score. They have a very good defense. Great, fine, that's awesome. They can't score.
I like it. All right, let's pause real quick. Let's bring in Ira. Let's talk about what the team was talking about on Thursday. That's right. As promised, 5-star Ira Schoffel, managing editor of Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. Again, use the promo code Norvell 2020. You get 25% off an annual membership, a $25 e-card to Garden and Gold, and 3 months free on top of that already discounted yearly rate. And the new Nike shoes for the season look pretty sharp, everybody. You want to get your drip maximized, no cap 100. You can use the $25 to pay for probably the shoelaces that come on that nice fancy shoe. Ira, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just excited to be here with you guys. I mean, this is kind of it's been an exciting day. Practice starting tomorrow, and this is the perfect way to cap it off. No cap.
Was that sincere, Corey? Didn't feel that sincere to me.
And I can't imagine anything less sincere. That was ridiculous.
I mean,
he sounds like he'd rather be doing anything else in the world.
That's not true.
All right, so I'm going to lean on you two because you're both smarter than I am. I was juggling some stuff while Mike Norvell was talking, so I really couldn't, bend my ear and tune in to exactly, the nuance of what he was trying to say. I did speak to Gene Williams, .com, the man, the myth, the legend. Videos up on our YouTube page of him kind of pulling out what he thought were the bigger takeaways from each person that spoke. For him, it was just kind of, I guess, Norvell talking about the fact that he does have a plan for ramping up the action before, I guess, during their acclimation period due to the whole, COVID thing and protocols and social distancing. He's going to go to a split squad sort of practice, smaller groups. It's something he's done before. That kind of was a good answer, Gene thought, to kind of show that he does have a plan. For you, Ira, what were some of the things that kind of caught your ear or were interesting to you from what Mike Norvell had to say?
I thought he was very deft the way he evaded all the COVID questions.
That's
and
Yes.
he was masterful. No matter how it was asked, he was not going to say anything about protocols, what exactly they were going to do, just that he felt very good about what the plan they have in place, but he was just not going to share that plan, which is fine. Because that's been Florida State's approach to this whole thing. I mean, they're one of the many schools that is not wanted to lift the curtain to let people know what's going on behind it. And, as far as the team goes, I thought, the stuff about the quarterbacks was interesting. I thought one of the comments he made that, Corey had in his article that people can read at Warchant was the part about, we've got to figure out what these guys can do and then figure out the guy that we want to be the quarterback and then tailor things to his strengths. And again, I think that's something that if that happens, I think Florida State fans will be really happy because it's been a long, long time. I think maybe when they went with the fast break with Charlie Ward, that might have been the last time that FSU tailored an offense around somebody's. I mean, if you think about that, wasn't really what Jimbo did. Yeah. And, these last couple of years, they were seemingly incapable of it. Those were, they were going to run their systems. And so, this kind of goes with this whole mindset that, Norvell's preached about, finding playmakers, getting them the ball, letting them make plays. I think it goes for the quarterbacks too. And so it's a nuanced thing. It's a little thing, but I think that's something that I'd be excited about if I was a Florida State fan.
Corey, how about you? What caught your interest? I mean, was it the fact that we're going to have a staff that's going to mold their system around or, set up a scheme around the skills of a quarterback? Was that what caught your ear? Or was there something else that you thought was more interesting?
No, when it came to the quarterbacks, it was when Dillingham was asked about, dealing with a four quarterback battle. Usually there are two, and maybe this one will be two after a week. We don't know. But right now going into camp, it's a 4 quarterback battle. And number one, he's like, well, we did that at Memphis in year 3, where they had 4 guys that were vying for the starting spot, like legitimately vying for it. And then also he talked about how you divvy up reps. And he said, look, if you play better one day, you're going to get more reps the next day. That's how it works. And I just thought that was interesting. Like, you earn your reps. So if you have a bad first couple of days, well, you better your reps are going to go down a little bit, and you better be good in those reps, or they're going to keep going down. You're going to separate yourself in the wrong way. Vice versa, you can do it in the right way. I just thought that was interesting. That was usually you get coach speak, and it's like, we're all going to get the same reps. They're all going to get a look. But no, that makes sense. Give the guys the more reps that are earning them, and that's that'll start Friday. That to me was interesting, and I did think the split squad stuff was interesting. But Ira, he didn't really go into detail about what it would actually involve, right?
Yeah, no, he didn't. But from what I understand, I think from what I heard, it's going to be offense and then defense. Like the offense will practice and then the defense will practice, or vice versa. But they'll be split up that way. And for these first 3 days, it's just going to be all fundamentals. It's not going to be any 11-on-11 or 7-on-7. And to your point, I get it, and I appreciate him saying that about giving all 4 reps and then being, having it be a meritocracy. The only problem is, how do you even give 4 guys reps with the first team offense? And then even if so say one guy has a bad day or two, and then his reps get limited, and he's the 4th guy getting reps with that. Was he going to get 2 snaps with the first team offense? It just seems so unwieldy. I really wonder. I'm sure they'll give them all an opportunity to do stuff these first few days, but I can't imagine there's going to be too many practices where 4 guys are taking reps with the ones.
I do wonder how can you cull it down quickly though? Like 4 guys. I mean, you do have to give them.
Well, that's
all
the beauty, though,
shot.
right? You don't have to do it that quickly. Like they don't play for another 5 weeks, so the first 2 weeks could be like the feeling out period. But yeah, I don't think they're going to get equal reps necessarily with the ones, but you can still reps are reps. I mean, if they're not scout team reps, you still have the same zip on the ball. You're still reading it quickly. You're still making decisions. So all that stuff can still be looked at, even if they're doing second string stuff. But yeah, I don't think you can be equal. I don't think that all 4 are going to be getting equal reps like with the ones throughout fall camp. But they'll get some reps with the ones, and then we know how football works, man. They'll have a pretty good idea, I think, within 6 to 8 to 9 days. Okay, and I'm just using this as a complete example, not because it's fact. It's just an example. Okay, Jordan Travis, we're going to use him more as a running threat, but he's not going to really vie for the starting quarterback spot. I think they can figure that out. Nick Markakis just won the game. Sorry, guys. Anyway, I'm done making my point.
All right, thanks for participating, Corey. Appreciate it. I guess the only other thing,
a walk-off. That's all. It's a lot of fun. A walk-off.
There you go. Is it the game 1 of the doubleheader or the second doubleheader? It's game 2 of the doubleheader. Are they playing doubleheader?
No, one a doubleheader, and now he touches home plate, and they all stand 6 feet away from him, jumping up and down.
Well, that's what you got to do. That's the world we live in. Deal with it. These are the rules. If you all want to play,
and
sports.
How about Markakis opting back in?
Yeah, that's right.
Much like my man Marvin Wilson. Markakis opts back in, and now he hits a walk-off home run.
Speaking of which, let me read this text message between my brother and his friends. My brother posts a screenshot of Marvin with a quote photo thing. I didn't come back to sit out and just go prepare for the league. That's taking the easy way out for me personally. I feel like I have work to do here in Tallahassee. One of his friends says, I love it. I'm proud of him for saying what he said. It's time for business. It's a risk, but that also shows NFL teams what he's about, and this was a great decision to play and speak like that on his part. My brother, my favorite player on this team. Then one of his buddies, yeah, that's because he's by far the best and probably the only player you know besides Blackman, LOL. So I think Marvin gained a lot of friends, a lot of fans back with that sort of statement. But yes, well said though, Corey. But maybe before we jump to Marvin, I guess the only other thing, and in terms of Mike Norvell evading question, I think somebody asked him with the whole pandemic and just the way that preparation has obviously been changed and upended, does it change his expectations? And he kind of slithered out of that question. He has to have, right, Ira? Like when he took this job and, that first practice we saw in pads, I can't imagine he had the same outlook for 2020 on March 6th as he does, on August 6th.
I'm sure internally, or maybe when he's speaking to Kenny Dillingham and a couple of the assistants in private, maybe. But when I was working on that project, and the last part of that's going to run hopefully today, And Kenny Dillingham made a similar comment back during the summer. I asked him about, do you kind of have to temper what you thought about this season? He said, he's like, man, it's just a philosophy. Once you lower your expectations, you're never going to get to where you wanted to be. So you just can't and so now again, I think maybe privately, but they're just not going to discuss it with the players. They're certainly not going to discuss it with us. I'm sure that they see that this team can be different, and it's going to be a little different than what they hoped. And Norvell actually even kind of made one comment that again, going back to that comment about we're going to figure out what we can do and then kind of adjust accordingly. I think Adam Fuller said something along those lines too. I mean, they're not going to be able. What Norvell said was, we don't want to overwhelm the guys.
Yeah,
we want to do everything, but we don't want to overwhelm them. And so I just think that they're going to dial back what they do with the hopes that the players will be able to do everything they want to do full speed.
Now we can go to Marvin, possibly. Pretty sort of bold statement. I mean, I don't know if it came out the way it transcribed out to with his sort of comments, but I do feel like if you read warchant.com's tribal council, Corey, it does seem like if anybody was out of his corner, they're all back on the Marv preseason All-American defensive tackle train. That seemed to have put him back in the good graces with most everybody.
Yeah, and I don't think it was done to pander. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Like maybe he had maybe somebody sided up to him, was like, hey, man, you know how you could win the fan base back over completely? Like a few that you might have lost is say this. But I don't think Marvin does that, number one. And I think that was genuine. His comments about if the people are wondering what we're talking about, which number one, you shouldn't be, because you should be on Warchant. You should be on Warchant, period. Yeah, so in this day and age where, all we get besieged with is the kids that are not going to play for this reason or that reason. And they're perfectly understandable reasons, like the Rousseau kid at Miami. He's a draftable kid. He's obviously going to be a top 5, top 10 pick probably. And and number one, he also lives in a hot zone. So if he feels it's in his best interest to go train somewhere for the next 6 months, that's it's his prerogative. But I think people were just refreshed by, what? This is a guy that says, okay, I came back to school to do more than just play football, but I got things I want to accomplish. I got things to still accomplish. I love this university. I love my teammates. I'm not quite putting words in his mouth. It was the sentiment was there. I thought that was commendable, number one, but I just think it was such a change of pace from what we've been hearing. You don't ever hear about players that opt in, really. And for him to do that and be so emphatic about it, definitely won him over some Florida State fans and maybe just fans in general.
But like Aslan mentioned, in our text earlier, that some of the media, national outlets are kind of turning it into that Marvin was taking shots at other players who have opted out, is like that was the easy way out. And I don't think that's what he meant. I think he was speaking specifically about himself. That I didn't come here to just turn around and leave. I came here. He never said like all these other guys, all these other chumps. But that's kind of the way I think it read if you weren't listening to it. And it's funny though, Marvin Wilson, the last, 10, 11 months, the roller coaster he's been on. Remember when Willie got fired and then he didn't play against Boston College and everybody assumed it was because he just didn't want to play anymore. He was shutting it down.
Well, he broke his hand though, right? He broke his hand.
Oh, I know. Yeah, exactly. But people said, "Oh, he could have played. It's just a hand.
Oh,
he could have. Right. He could have played if Willie was still here. He would have played."
Oh.
It was just so ridiculous. He would definitely play for Odell. But so then people are kind of down on him going to that game. Then he shows up in the parking lot after the game, and Odell shares that story that when the team gets back in the middle of the night, Marvin was actually in the parking lot, to greet the team after they won. So then people were like back on Marvin's side. Then you have the situation then he says he's going to stay for senior year. Everybody loves Marvin. Then you get the situation in the summer, and now everybody's down on Marvin. And then, as Corey said, now again he's everybody's favorite guy. It's been an interesting 10 or 11 months. I'm guessing at this point he's probably immune to what the fans are saying. But yeah, I mean he couldn't have endeared himself anymore than he did with those comments.
Well, and I don't think you were meaning to do this, and you didn't present it this way, but it's not like he's doing something wrong and then doing something right. and doing something wrong and doing something right. Like he didn't sit out the BC game because he was mad that Willie got fired, or he just was protecting his stock. Obviously, he wasn't protecting his stock because he came back.
Yeah, I'm just talking about perceptions, fan
No,
perceptions.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and so the perception, but and even I think Marvin's been the same guy through it all. He is a guy that you just can't imagine there's anybody more respected in that locker room. And I think if you're looking for a true team leader, it's not just a guy that says what he said today. It's like what you just talked about. It's the guy that's waiting in the parking lot for them to get back home. That's leadership, man. That's what he brings to it, other than first round talent. That was let's just have a football season, man. It was cool to see. It's cool to see. I want to see 21 on a football field.
Yeah. Also, I thought it was interesting, kind of just the way he talked about the way they're going to try to utilize him, whether it's play 3 technique or 5 technique or line him up over the center. And then you heard Adam Fuller just kind of talk about how he wants to let these guys kind of play old school Florida State football and be athletes and make plays and stand up guys if he has to and move them around. So it does sound like the defense, which I think you underscored a few times, Corey. I know for sure Ira might have re-listened to it when he went down his YouTube wormhole of post-game wrap-up shows that you guys did the past 2 seasons. But like after that Florida loss, you're like, man, this defense, it really, we keep talking about the offensive line, but this defense is what's really the problem. It does sound like maybe some of that aggression, that ferocity that we miss in the defense might be coming back, or hopefully, or at least it's planned on it.
That's the plan. It's always a good plan to want to be aggressive and good on defense. But I did like what Fuller said especially about the players up front, because he knows he's got some big time talent up front, and that he wants them to have one-on-one matchups. And he said, we don't want them catching blocks. They're not there just to take on blocks. We want to get them in one-on-one matchups. Either the offense gives them a one-on-one matchup, or the way we create our defense, the way we scheme it, whether we bring an extra guy or not, we want those guys, especially the guys in the interior, to have as many one-on-one matchups as they can. And again, that goes back to what Norvell and Dillingham always talk about on offense. You want to give your best players the best chance to succeed. If you can free up Marvin Wilson one way or another through scheme to get one-on-one matchups, or Cooper or Durden, man, your defense is going to be a lot better. And so that was cool to see. He wants them to be aggressive. He wants them to be attacking, not just like making plays. He wants his defensive linemen to be playmakers. And other than Marvin, Durden had some moments too. They didn't make a ton of plays last year.
Close, though. Close. He made a lot of pressures. A lot of
hurries and pressures. Yeah. The one thing that it's nice to have a new coaching staff, because you get to hear different ways of saying things. Like one thing I like that Fuller said was, football is all about creating space or taking away space. The offense wants to create space, and defense wants to take it away. And I haven't heard any of the coaches around here say it that way, and I think it's a good way to say it. But I also liked them talking about moving guys around. The other thing I liked what he said was that if somebody's out, whether it's COVID or an injury or whatever, in a position, it's not necessarily, hey, your backup is next in line. It's who's the next best football player. Like, we want the best 11 football players out there on the field. And I've always appreciated that. I think a lot of coaching staff say that. I'll be interested to see how that plays out, because I've never understood that. If you've got a backup who's just not very good, but because he plays that position, he has to be on the field, while your really good backup at another position that's something similar is sitting on the bench. Again, this is all talk right now, but I think I've liked just about everything I've heard from Adam Fuller.
How about tip of the cap to him for doing his homework and dropping a little local shout out to Childs High School, and he was talking about Amari Gaynor. He's been looking over his notes. He had a lot of good things to say about Amari Gaynor. Derek, do I smell like a Clark feature story coming up after the quotes he had to say about Amari?
No, I was just kind of curious of how they envision using him, because we keep seeing, once a week or once every 2 weeks, Amari will tweet the weight that he's gained, and I do think that kid is a kid that he just makes your defense a little different if he's living up to his potential, because he is big. He's 6'3", he's rangy, and he's mean. I don't know if he's mean in his real life. Yeah. He's mean on a football field and really physical. And man, wouldn't it be cool to have like an outside linebacker type that's physical and mean and crushing folks, and can blitz. And he did say that they think he's going to be a plus blitzer. But then he also, I didn't even think about this, but he talked about him being out in space, and he's like, that's a complete mismatch for a wide receiver when a wide receiver is trying to block him. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's a good point. If the slot guy wants to block down or go and try to get Amari Gaynor from making a play, that ain't happening. Right. So that's good. That's good, man. They need more players like Amari Gaynor out on the football field. 6'3", 230, and can run.
The one thing I'm curious about that is I'm pretty sure, I meant to go back and listen, but I'm pretty sure Jaden Lars would be, during our big 3 days of spring football, that Jaden Lars would be talked about playing that position, the stud position. And
do we have to say that? Like, that has to be the name of a position?
What's wrong with stud?
I mean, I don't know. I just feel weird calling a guy a stud. Like, I don't know. Stud to me means like sexy.
Are they not sexy to you?
No. I mean, just because they're in pads, obviously. That's the only reason. But yeah, that seems it's odd. It's an odd. I don't like that word. You don't have to. I don't think sports in general.
I don't think you have to address him as stud.
Dude,
that's true. I guess you don't.
I think I got a complaint email when I worked in television for calling like a kid a stud. Just like, how dare you objectify this young man and give him such like a I'm like, sorry.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I don't want to objectify Amari Gaynor or Jaden Lars Woodby and call them studs. They're human they're human beings first.
All right. Moving along. Honestly,
sorry I interrupted your point, Ira.
No, that's fine.
No,
that was good.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah,
well worth it.
Welcome to the Terror Dome, Ira. Welcome to the Terror Dome. For me, honestly, I thought the highlight for me was John Papuchis, defensive ends coach, special teams coordinator, talking about kind of how this, and I think this really illuminates, if you're going to be optimistic about this team this season and moving forward, which you have a lot of reasons and right to be, but maybe like in the near immediate term, is just, kind of to what James Blackman's uncle said on the show last week, is about just the difference in coaching between the Fisher staff and the Taggart staff, and then now between Taggart and Norvell. And when he was saying about that, for us, special teams is going to be a key in terms of identity for our football team. We said to the team the other day, part of our identity of our football team is how we look on kickoff coverage. And maybe to some people that might be like some sort of throwaway line, but to me, like when I heard that, like I perked up. You think about them using a whole spot to have a special teams coordinator dedicated in 2018. Alonzo Hampton, who ends up getting released, and he ends up as an analyst, I think, at Arkansas. And then last season, it's just, we're all doing a little bit of everything. Mark's doing this, and
like a high school.
Yeah, it was just like, we're really going to approach this entire. You went from dedicated guy 9 months ago to like, it's fine. We don't even need a dedicated guy. We'll all pitch in and do whatever, and we'll be a man shorthanded overall. But there's something about that, and I saw like a sort of a meme on Twitter. I follow a bunch of kids still from Mississippi. Some guys that played at Mississippi State for Dan Mullen, and there was like this weird meme about like something about being prodded and having to run when somebody sees you. But just basically was talking about like if Dan Mullen did not see you run full speed down the field on a kickoff, like he would get on you. It's those little sort of things where like if I was a coach, like I'd be like, yeah, man, it's a touchback. Save yourself. You don't need to gas yourself out running down there for no reason. But I think there is some sort of spirit de corps almost, if you will, by playing like that on something that could be insignificant. Somewhere down the line, I think when you have that sort of intensity, it will pay dividends on real plays that do matter. That's, to me, I thought that was the best line, the most encouraging thing of the entire day. Crazy enough.
Ira, did he use it right? Did he use it correctly?
It's actually esprit de corps, but the intent was there. I appreciate it. It's all about the intent. Right. I'm going to go here before Corey real quick, if you don't mind. I'm the guest, Corey.
Sure.
No, I agree 100%. And actually, if you go back to when Jimbo got here, this is what we saw when he got here. Because before Jimbo came in, it was a lot of walk-ons and second and third team guys on special teams. And then not in the returners, but in terms of the coverage units. Then when Jimbo got here, I remember we'd be sitting there in the press box the first time we got to see them go out on coverage units. And you'd be like, why are all those guys out there? It was all the starters. And if a freshman, that was a way you could kind of tell if a freshman could really play, like if a Jalen Ramsey or somebody, if they're out there with a kickoff coverage unit, or if a walk-on got in that group, you're like, well, that kid, they respect that kid because you can't get on that unit. unless you're a star. I didn't want to say stud, Corey, so it's unless you're a
There you
star.
go.
Well
Good
done.
work, Ira.
Attaboy.
But so, and then to your point, you go back to these last 2 years where special teams were just a debacle because there wasn't an emphasis on it. And the kids, just like, coaches always say, you what you tolerate is what you coach. And if they didn't take it seriously as a coaching staff, if they didn't have dedicate the time to it and pay attention to detail, then the kids aren't going to take it seriously. That's how you have a special teams unit play the way they did these last couple of years. The last year was better than the year before, but it still wasn't great.
Right. You either coach it or you allow it.
Yeah.
And, who knows what combination was here the last 2 years. Special teams, Corey, it's an important part, right?
It is, yeah, and that one caught my ear too when he was it was a Zoom call, so it caught my eye and my ear.
There you go.
When he was talking about the special teams and the kickoff coverage, because what that means is like you got guys running full speed, you got guys blowing up blockers if they can, and it sets a tone for what kind of team you are. If you're fast and physical on that and you take it seriously, you're probably fast and physical everywhere. And I hadn't really ever thought about it like that before, but absolutely. And I remember, I'm going to go back old school, guys. I think I told Aslan this, that the time that I had to watch the Miami Florida State game from the Miami student section.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad. So this was 94. And I remember the kickoff, we were like at the 2-yard line. So all the kickoffs would land right near us. And I promise you, when the Florida State returner would get the ball, by the time he was at like the 8, he was having to dodge a guy who was running. He must have been taken off the track team. They had 4 guys just blowing up everything. And as you might remember back then in the early 90s, Miami was a pretty good football team, and they were physical. And they had guys like, Warren Sapp and Ray Lewis. So I do think that says a lot about your football team. When Jimbo's teams were great, they were great on special teams. And that does matter to this guy. I don't even remember Jimbo talking about special teams like this. Like I think this is like almost – like Jimbo's calling card was quarterbacks. It feels like for Norvell, special teams is his calling card. That's what he almost wants to be known for more than anything else.
For a split second, when I realized I was going to be the first question for John Papuchis, I wanted to ask him something about swag surfing and whether or not like if he's a proponent of swag surfing before the opening kickoff, or if he wants to switch that up and break tradition. But I decided that probably wasn't the time or the place.
That should have been
it's a shame that we won't get to see the students in the student section get to swag surf as much this year, because that was becoming a great tradition.
You should have asked Marvin that on your throwaway question, Corey, but well maneuvered just to be like, hey man, our question's been asked.
I literally, because I had about 2 minutes. Okay, so folks, I was going to ask Marvin like what we brought up on this show yesterday about the players taking COVID seriously away from the field and how they're the ones that are going to make sure that they play or not by what they do off the field. And so I was going to ask him about that. Well, Kurt from the Democrat went ahead and asked basically the same question I was going to ask. And I probably wouldn't you think I had about 2.5 minutes between his question and then when Derek called on me?
Easy.
Maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah, so it's easy.
And for 2 minutes, I could not figure out how to unraise my hand in the Zoom call. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be called on. I need to think of a question. And I couldn't think of anything. Nothing, literally zero, nothing. So when they called on me, I'm like, hey, Kurt took my question about 28 minutes ago. So I just wanted to say, hey, Marvin.
Yeah, then you're like, good seeing you, buddy, or something like that.
Yeah, it's great seeing you again.
Oh.
And he was like, you too.
Yeah.
For Gene, let's, I guess, transition to the last of the bunch was Jay Sean Corbin, and it kind of dovetails into what you were talking about right there, Corey. For Gene, what he thought was kind of the most interesting that stood out was just the way that Jay Sean Corbin responded, I guess, to a question about how much responsibility the players are taking to, put themselves in the right situations to avoid, jeopardizing the season. And Gene's point that he made on the video, which, again, you can watch on the YouTube page, was, think about being a true freshman or a redshirt freshman or a transfer. And, more or less this is like, Marvin Wilson's team, or at least he's one of your leaders and captains. When you realize what he's putting on the line, returning, possibly jeopardizing his draft stock, probably is going to make you a little bit more, I don't know, like judicious about the decisions you're going to make to do certain things. Louisville, we saw they had an outbreak on their campus that was traced back to a a party, I guess, that was attended by many athletes. Some of the athletes that were involved in that party have been actually dismissed from their soccer team. So in a lot of it, I think, speaking for, at least for you, Corey, I don't know about where Ira stands on this. It just seems like for this season to be able to last as long as it can, these players are going to have to avoid, certain situations. So I think to hear a guy like Jay Sean Corbin talk about that's kind of resonating with him rather, was kind of an encouraging thing to hear.
I'll say this. I hope that it's not just lip service, because I think it's easy to say that. But Florida State's not releasing their numbers. But we've all heard that, they've had plenty of positive tests. So it's not like it's been, the mighty bubble over there at Doak Campbell Stadium. I think for, these guys have had issues. And David Coburn, in one of the articles I wrote the other day, said, we feel good about how they handle things when they're here, but when they leave and go across the street, they go back to being 18 to 22-year-olds. So, everybody's got to cross their fingers. And maybe now that they're in preseason camp, that'll raise their effort in that area, and they'll be more, cautious and more on top of those things. Maybe in the summer it was a little bit more difficult, but again, it's one of those things that anybody can say it. We'll see if they actually do it.
I feel like it could be like that, the Remember the Titans scene where, they do weak side, strong side, and the team comes together, Ira. You remember, Did you ever see this movie? This was a football movie.
I did.
Good. So the team comes together.
It just came out. Wasn't it last Christmas it came out?
2 Christmases ago. It was Denzel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The girl in that is married to one of the Klitschko's?
No.
Literally, like the little girl that's in it. That's the coach's
she was
daughter.
No longer, though. Hayden Panettiere or whatever. She was.
She was married to a Klitschko.
Yeah.
That's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's that scene where they find their racial harmony, and they're a team now. They don't really see black and white anymore. They're a team. But then they go back to school, and it all starts over again, where the people are picking sides because the rest of the student body wasn't at Gettysburg for 3 days with Denzel as their coach. So they haven't become harmonized. And I really do, a dumb point to make what I'm hope is an okay point, is they might really bond over fall camp and be like, you know what, we are in this together. We do want to have a football season. Yeah. We do want to have a football season. We do want to play. We want to do whatever it takes to play. Oh, wait, here come 30,000 people.
And also, as you said, that was reminding me of Danny and Sandy in Greece during the summer.
Right.
Summer they were, they had a special relationship. Really kind of, in each other's souls.
It was a summer love, Ira.
Yeah, summer love, and they actually had a blast, I think. And then, but then they come back to school, and then you got the T-Birds, and you got the pink. It's just it's hard. Everything changes when the kids come back from school. Is our point here? You good, Aslan?
Ira, thank you for coming on the show and doing that, so I'm not the worst person on the show today. Appreciate you falling on that grenade. Real quickly before we leave, I guess to that point, do we expect there's going to be 30,000 kids back on campus, and maybe not even so much that, maybe share any information or insight, Ira, about potential seating plans, capacity maybe. I think Gene got some information on that. I don't know if you can corroborate.
As far as school goes, I really think that I think Florida State's super cautious. John Thrasher has been very, very cautious throughout this whole thing. They do have a plan to bring everybody back, but and I can speak to my daughter who goes to a different college in the state, and there are face-to-face classes. She's not in any one of them, and her friends are not in any one of them. I think there's the vast majority of kids are not going to be in face-to-face classes in the state. And so I don't think the football players are going to be in many face-to-face classes. I think the bigger concern is going to be what they do, weekend nights. Do they go to parties? Do they go to friends' houses? I'll be surprised if Florida. I don't think there's going to be that many face-to-face classes anyway, but I'd be very surprised if Florida State's football players are in many of them.
I like how you term them face-to-face classes, like instead of in person.
Okay.
Go with face-to-face. I like it. I like it.
It's a nomenclature. Face-to-face learning.
You're cheek to cheek. Could have gone cheek to cheek.
And to the capacity sort of side of things, 20 to 25% is sort of what they're probably working with, that's 15 to 18,000.
Yeah, I think I thought 18,000 is probably where it's going to be about. and we'll see. I mean, that's the plan. We're seeing a bunch of schools now coming out in different states, and it's getting shut down completely. Who knows? I mean, this whole thing, it's like, we're all going through this process and, making plans, knowing that at any point, at any moment, the plug could get pulled on all of this. So we'll see. But yeah, I'd be surprised if it was over 20,000. I think it'll be a little bit less than that.
No plug is getting pulled. We sat through 2.5 hours of interviews on Thursday, Ira. We're
True.
playing. We're playing in a parking lot or somewhere. They're playing football. All right, Ira, man, thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
You're never gonna bring me back again after that Grease.
No, man, that was the highlight of the show.
Was it Frankie Valli? Who sung like "Grease is the word"? Grease is the
Frankie
word.
Avalon.
Frankie Avalon. There we go.
There you go.
All right. See, that's why I need you around here, guy. That's why I need the big guy. That's why
I said, hey, that's Ira's favorite movie. He knows all the. It's either that or Hamilton, right? Ira's a musical guy.
Right. You never realized. I was a music major for 2 years.
I know you were, buddy. I know you were. You can tell.
Until I get kicked out.
Hey.
I'm a failed music major. Those are the best kind.
Well, now you're the managing editor of the best Florida State website out there. Do stay connected to warchant.com. Again, that promo code Norvell 2020, 25% off an annual membership, $25 gift card to Garnet and Gold. It's an e-card. You can use it anywhere. And 3 free additional months tacked on top of it. Practice starts Friday. I think we're going to get Tamorian Terry and Coach afterwards. So we'll probably do something following that and have some content for you folks over on warchant.com as well.
Real quick, you think what if Corey threw an autograph in with that package? Ooh. Like, what would that do for the sales?
What about if you both autographed that season
Whose
preview?
autograph?
The preview.
Your autograph.
Oh.
I think if you both signed the season preview with your guys' arms crossed and Corey still having some Bruce Willis hair, that'll really sweeten the
No, man, we should sign the new one from last year's Wake Forest game.
Okay, there we go.
Where we look like the dudes in the Muppets in the balcony.
It's where this cursor fell, man. I'm telling you, I did not go hunting that down. It's where the cursor gods let it fall. And I'm like, this describes what we all just saw.
Indeed, it did.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch up with y'all on Monday. Have a great one, everybody.
Finally, an answer to the age-old question, which comes first, the chicken or the egg roll? Easy. Just eat whichever one's closest. The Sensation Salad and Filet Sandwich Meal are back at Zaxby's. Both feature our famous hand-breaded chicken, crispy wontons, Asian slaw, and citrus vinaigrette. And each comes with its very own egg roll for a limited time only at Zaxby's. Order ahead drive-thru or get it delivered.